righteousness. He is worried about internal righteousness that produces real righteousness on the outside. So he says, you want to see me? You want to see me show up? You want to see me, man, start to rock the world in your neighborhood, in your community, on your ball team? Start giving me your whole heart. Start pursuing purity of heart and watch what happens when I start showing up. Verse 9, he says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Why would peacemakers be called children of God? Because peacemakers are like daddy. Because he's a peacemaker. You see, peace is one characteristic that unites actually the entire Trinity. All three persons of the Trinity are associated with peace. Multiple times the Father is called the God of peace. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. The Holy Spirit, when he's evident in your life, we'll see in just a minute, but Galatians chapter 5 says the fruit of the Holy Spirit is peace. Anywhere God is, peace is there. Jesus came to make peace, to create peace. We were enemies of God. We were separate from him, and we could never get from where we were to where he was. So he comes and he bridges the gap and he makes peace. And so when we start making peace in relationships, we start making peace in the workplace, we start making peace at Thanksgiving dinner, we start making peace in places where there are no peace, it says we're called children of God. We look like daddy. Notice it says peacemakers, not peacekeepers. This was a hard lesson for me because I'm a peacekeeper by nature. I'm a peacekeeper. I like to ignore stuff. I like to look away. I don't like to deal with confrontation. Like, let's just keep the peace. But what I've learned over time is this: that's not really peace. Just ignoring the elephant in the room and trying to work around it, that's not peace. And so I'm not really keeping peace by doing that. A peacemaker actually works through the problem to the resolution on the other side. So a peacemaker actually has to confront stuff. That doesn't feel like peace. Peacemaker actually has to have tough conversations as a parent, as a spouse, as a coworker, whatever it might be, as a friend. Man, we got to talk some stuff through. And that doesn't feel like peacekeeping, right? It feels like we're disturbing the peace. I don't know about you. I don't like confrontation. I don't enjoy it. I don't look forward to it. But we're never going to have peace if we don't deal with it. Aren't you grateful for a God who loves us enough to tell us the truth? He loves us enough to call us sinners. He loves us enough to tell us the ways that we have violated his expectations, but he loves us enough to extend to us an olive branch of Jesus Christ to bring restoration. He is a peacemaker, and he's called us to be peacemakers too. Upside down kingdom attribute number 7. I changed it to attitude rather than attitude because this is outward. This is one we got to put into action. This isn't just the attitude of the heart. See, you can have a peaceful heart but not create peace. But a peacemaker has to actually go to work. A peacemaker has to actually bring it from the heart into the conversation. Now, it's got to come from an attitude of peacemaking. This is the difference, right? Because when we confront, we ain't usually confronting from an attitude of peacemaking. We're confronting from an attitude of justice. We're confronting from an attitude of revenge, right? And so when Jesus came to make peace, it required some work. It required some honesty, but he spoke the truth in love. He came from the Father full of grace and full of truth. And that's what he models for us. That's what peacemaking is. It's flowing from a heart of desiring peace with others to working towards peace as the goal and working through it. Verse 10 says, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. If you read forward into the book of Revelation, it's going to talk about a generation who's going to come that's persecuted for righteousness. There's going to be a whole generation in the last days of martyrs, of people who die for standing up for what's right. And it says in heaven that they are dressed in white robes, that they are They have a special place of honor before the feet of Jesus because they were willing to lay down their life for their King. They were actually willing to respond to what Jesus had done for them. Jesus says there's a blessing of righteousness. The kingdom of heaven actually belongs to those who are persecuted. Upside down kingdom, attribute number 8, again, we switched to attribute for these last two, is this: receiving persecution because of righteousness. You can receive persecution because of righteousness. It's a really important distinction there. It's not just people don't like me because I'm not very likable, because I trample over people and I expect everybody to line up with what I got to say. It's because you are standing for what's right, you are doing what's right, and you are receiving persecution. Reality is, in our generation, in our country, we don't get a lot of this. It's increasing a little bit. It's turning up a little bit. And the natural inclination in us, the normal kingdom in us, is to get really, really mad when we get persecuted. This is wrong. Our nation's falling apart, and everything's going wrong. And we get really upset when all of a sudden we get mistreated because of our beliefs, because of the truth, because of our love for Jesus. Jesus says you're blessed when you're persecuted because of righteousness. We don't respond to it as a blessing. We respond to it as a curse. We're organizing picket lines and protests, and we're voting people out of office, and we're doing all kinds of stuff when we receive persecution. I'm not saying the way we vote doesn't matter. I'm not saying we shouldn't stand up for truth. What I'm saying is this: next time